cold as a razor blade.
Another episode of The Snake Pit, and of course, I'm joined by the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, fresh back on AEW TV with a new group. It's Jake the Snake Roberts. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, trying to let my hand heal.
I'll tell you what, that was a hell of a punch on Dax.
Damn right, man. I tried to knock his ass out.
It looked damn good, and I'll tell you what, you and your new crew of guys, you guys are looking downright dangerous.
We are dangerous. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I'm loving that I'm seeing Jake the Snake Roberts on TV, and boy, I've seen the feedback online. Jake, what do you think of your new crew?
They're dangerous.
That's the right word for it, isn't it?
They are. They're uncontrolled mayhem.
And with you in their corner, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to direct, but it's kind of hard with the language barrier.
I'm sure. Even all your time in Mexico, you didn't pick up any Spanish?
Just the curse words.
Well, that might be all you need, really.
True that.
Well, we've got all we need here this week on the show because Jake, we are taking people have been asking about it. They wanted to continue the story of 1989. Of course, you and I had to take some time away from it because right in the middle of 1989, you had to leave the company for a while and go get surgery on your neck.
Yeah.
And now we are back to it because we're going to be talking about your return. So, boy, 35 years ago, you ready to jump into these?
Sure.
Let's do it. We're going to start out with something that we discussed before from this era, but it definitely bears repeating for the sake of this episode. Following WrestleMania 5, you transitioned from feuding with Andre to Ted Dibiase. Ted, of course, very well established by this point. And over the past year and a half or so, that since he's come to the WWF, he's become one of the top heels in all of wrestling. Jake, I know that you had worked with Ted before, and I'm sure you were excited for the opportunity, but you've mentioned before that working with Andre was really special as a time in your career. How did you feel about moving away from Andre to go on to Ted?
I was ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ted and I, we have a certain kind of magic. It just happens out there for us, and it was welcome.
Was Andre even? I know that you and Andre started out a little bit rough, where he was guzzling you whenever you guys would first get into matches. He would still like to rib you in the middle of matches, though, right?
Oh yeah, he'd sit on me and fart on me and things like that. You know, it's amazing how long a giant can fart. He dropped a couple 30-second bombs on my ass.
Oh my God! And you, what can you do? You got to just lay there.
It's like hearing a cow queef.
I forgot you worked on a dairy farm. That's something you probably heard a few times.
Oh yeah, it is.
Like hearing a cow queef it's going to be hard to beat that quote. And we just started the show. He was giving you those giant haircuts and whatnot too. So I'm sure that getting away from that situation probably was a breath of fresh air, literally.
I don't miss the haircuts at all.
Man, oh man. So again, a guy that size, what can you just got to accept it.
That's it. That's all you can do.
You and Ted are going to make the house shows together for a while after an attack on Superstars, where you took money from Virgil and gave it away to audience members. That's something that you, Ted, and myself all watched on an episode if people want to go back into the archives. And this is what they used to kind of write you off TV so you could go and get your neck surgery in the summer of '89. Jake, of course, this neck injury took place in 1987. So can you tell the audience why you waited so long to address the issue?
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear. Scared that if I got out of the ring that I wouldn't be able to get back in.
Mm.
And, things were going so well in 87 to step away from it, man, just seemed, what am I doing? Stepping away from it now. I can't step away from it now. It's too good.
Yeah.
Things were just too good. So I bared it, and which was a foolish mistake because, I leaned heavily on pain pills and alcohol.
Just to get by.
And that's not a good thing.
What happened, to because obviously it's like, your body you were like, "You know what? It hurts and it's uncomfortable, but I'm capable of going." And here you are, you're, at WrestleMania 3 in front of 90,000 fans, and you're continuing on for a couple of years. What happened to finally convince you, "Okay, I need to address this?"
It just got to the point that I couldn't lift my left arm.
Wow.
You know, I was cheating in the matches. I'd sling my arm up on the guy's shoulder and tell him to work my arm the rest of the match. That way, I didn't have to lift it. I could baby it and everything else.
Oh,
So I used a little psychology there. Just take
smart.
the arm. That way, I don't have to use it. So thank God I threw punches with my right hand.
Now I've gotta go back and watch these matches because I would have never even thought that that was a consideration, but so, like, you literally couldn't lift your arm, what, beyond the shoulder?
No, I couldn't lift it up.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Was it changing the way that you were, like, bumping or doing other things in the match too?
No, not so much. Not
Uh,
so much.
at the time, you had mentioned that you were fearful you wouldn't be able to get back into the ring. At the time, is your doctor confident that you're gonna be able to return to wrestling, or is your future in jeopardy?
It was in jeopardy. In fact, before the surgery, he told me he doubted if I'd be able to wrestle again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's when I told him that he didn't have a fucking clue who I was, and it's a chemical world, Doc. You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, what's his response to something like that?
What are you talking about? And I'm talking about going to Europe and getting some stuff that'll help me.
Mm, the stuff being steroids?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
and that's what I did. I went to Europe and came back with quite a bit, and that's when Vince told me that he didn't want no 290-pound snake, you know, which really pissed me off because I was in the best shape of my life.
He saw you starting to beef up and he wanted you to dial it back?
I
Obviously you've been, lifting weights and hitting the gym for a while up to this point. Now it's your first time presumably on steroids. Like how I've never taken steroids. I would guess that most of our listeners haven't. What's it like the difference when you're lifting on steroids versus before?
It turns you into an animal.
Yeah.
It really does. You hunger for lifting. That's all you want to do is lift.
If you guys go back and look at Jake's promo photos from like 1986 versus 89 into probably like right around 90, 91, you can see a major difference in like the size of your shoulders, chest, stuff like that.
That's where I gained it.
While you're sidelined with the neck injury, DiBiase built a program and he's targeting you in his promos and interviews. One memorable promo from a July Superstar stands out as DiBiase talked about how he ended your career and broke out a golden neck brace. So you would fire back telling fans that your return was imminent, though. So you aren't sure going into this surgery if you're going to be returning, but WWF is kind of hedging their bets that like if Jake is going to come back and work for us. What are you telling Vince whenever you're going into the surgery as far as what your doctor had to say?
I'll be back.
There was no doubt in your mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So to you, even if it's like stiff neck or whatever, I'm coming back and I'm working and I'm taking bumps no matter what.
What? I'll be back.
Wow. Well, yeah, they are talking about you a lot on TV, and at this time, Jake, I think it could be argued that your star had never been shining more brightly than it was at this time, 1989. You were a really big part of the WWF presentation. Obviously, you and the Snake are all over the place, toys and action figures, thermoses. At the same time, Hulk Hogan is working on No Holds Barred and clearly eyeing a future in Hollywood. So I say all that to say Vince absolutely did not want to lose you during this time. While you're recovering, is the office kind of regularly checking in on you?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And how would you describe your recovery from neck surgery? I would guess most of us will never deal with it.
Well, basically, I would wake up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, take a shot of steroids,
Mm-hmm.
and go to the gym.
That was it.
I'd eat a couple Percocet for the pain, and I'd go to the gym for 3 hours.
Are you like restricted in what you can do coming off surgery, or are you just right back into the action?
Back into it.
Wow.
I
Any
didn't take any direction from the doctor at all. I just did what I felt like I could do.
any fear at all of re-aggravating the injury?
No,
When it comes to your gym routine, obviously what you were doing was working. You did start to get a better build. Is this all just stuff that you picked up along the way? Did you hire a personal trainer, or what are you doing?
it's stuff I picked up along the way, and I was going to a gym that had a good trainer in it. He was a power lifter, bodybuilder, and he helped me a little bit.
Gotcha. I have a feeling this is a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. I know, Jake, that if I was running a company and I had Vince's resources, I would want to make sure that one of my top guys like you felt valued during a time when you could not work and get your usual payoffs. Were you getting paid even a portion of your usual wages?
Fuck no,
He wasn't giving you anything.
nothing.
Oh man. So like really there's no alternative. Like, we're talking about like, oh well, it's do you think you're gonna be able to get back? In your head at this time, there's no alternative. You're not gonna be able to do anything that makes you that amount of money.
No, absolutely not. Unless I stripped,
Well, you could have made a fortune doing that.
no doubt.
I mentioned it. Hogan was working on No Holds Barred, and the WWF was making a big push for the movie and hoping it was going to be a massive hit. Apparently, Vince wrote a lot of the script, and he was using it as a way to ensure that Hogan stuck around the WWF instead of making the jump to Hollywood full time. And actor Tony Tiny Lister is going to be portraying his movie character Zeus in the WWF to try and capitalize on the film as best as possible. He's been criticized over the past 30 some odd years for his inability to work or even pick up the basic elements of professional wrestling. According to Arn Anderson, Zeus was being paid $1,000 per appearance, was getting limo service, 5-star hotels all along the way. Jake, you're coming back into the WWF, and there's an actor there behind the scenes. What did you think of Zeus?
What a lucky motherfucker. That's what I thought.
What else can you think? I mean, it's in wrestling, it's obviously everybody's there. They're trying to make as much money as they can in as short a period of time as humanly possible. That's kind of the whole goal in wrestling. Did you begrudge this guy coming in and making all this money, or were you like, hey, good for him?
Sure, I was jealous a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'd work with him a little bit during this time in segments and, of course, at Survivor Series, which we're going to get to. Did you get to know the guy on a personal level at all?
Did sure did, man. He kind of did his own thing, man. He had his own locker room. He was getting carte blanche, man. So I didn't fit.
Okay, so it was one of those situations where he's coming in as a wrestler, but he is not one of the boys at all, not hanging with the guys.
Not at all.
Bruce Pritchard has said that Zeus was paired with Savage because he was in need of constant reminders and cues. So not really a fair position to put Savage in, essentially a babysitter for this guy.
Yeah.
Did you get the impression from him as Savage as to how he felt about his situation?
You could tell how he felt about it, man. He didn't like it. What the fuck am I doing up there? I'm babysitting the fucking giant.
Hard to not hate that. Like, no matter that, he could be the nicest guy in the world. Hard to not hate that dude when he's making all this money and you've got to help take care of him, make sure he gets to the building on time. And hey, don't forget to do this when we get out. Like, it would be really hard to not resent that, man.
Yeah, I think everybody resented it.
Jake, did you ever go out and see No Holds Barred?
No, I didn't.
All right, coming soon to the Snake Pit, a watch along of No Holds. I wouldn't do that to you, Jake.
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't.
So right now you're coming from the perspective of one of the boys, but hypothetically, if you could put on your business cap for a moment, look at things from Vince's perspective. Was it smart business to bring Zeus to the WWF TV like this?
Sure, it was. He's selling tickets for the theater, man. He's trying to spark interest for it, you know. And it's great business on Vince's part.
Hard to argue it, man. It's like as frustrating as I'm sure he knew all you guys were. It's like, hey, he's making a movie and he's damn sure going to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff that happens in your absence is that Dusty Rhodes is going to make his debut at the WWF, and before they ever bring him out on TV, before we ever see him in the polka dots, they run vignettes with him where he's unclogging a toilet, delivering pizza, working in a restaurant, and they're just trying to put over this whole common man thing. And Jake, I know that you had a lot of respect for Dusty. He hooked you up with the gig in Florida. And here he is. It's the American dream. He's a legend in professional wrestling, and he's unclogging a toilet on national television. What do you think, Jake?
Thought it was shit. You know, this Vince is bullshit, man. He wants to break you down, humiliate you. But Dusty made it work.
Yes, he did.
He made the polka dots work. He made his valet work. You know, I don't think many people could have done that.
It seemed like Vince just kept throwing bullshit at him, and Dusty's like, okay, and he just made it happen.
And made it work.
What do you think is the secret? Is it having charisma? Is it just owning it? Or like, if you were given shitty creative like that, what's your move?
Well, you just got to own it. You got to go out there and take care of it, man. You got to believe it. You got to believe in it. You know, because if you go out there half-hearted, people will see that shit. So you got to go out there like you're 100% in.
I think it really speaks to how special Dusty was as a human, because we're talking about a guy who is the NWA champion, just so well revered. And now it's like, he's getting thrown creative that you'd throw to some like mid-carder, and he's just like, yeah, sure, no sweat.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of a weird spot for you because, again, you're one of the top baby faces in the company at this time. Now you're out with a serious injury and surgery. When you see somebody the caliber of Dusty Rhodes coming in the door as a baby face, are you concerned about your spot on the roster?
Sure, I was. Absolutely.
I mean, you've been around Dusty, worked with him, all of the above. And at this point, though, would you say that you were gaining some confidence in yourself? Because again, you're a huge star in professional wrestling at this time. Were you like, "Hey, I'm irreplaceable. Everything will be fine," or did you not have that belief in yourself?
I didn't have that belief in myself.
Why not?
My father inbred that into me. You know, he made me feel like I was never going to be there. You know, that I wasn't worthy.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that made me stay so hungry.
Kind of a blessing and a curse in that way, because you never stop trying to push the rock up the hill, but nothing is probably ever satisfying.
That's true. So true.
Do you think that if Vince had given you the world title, you're a main eventer, you're all over the place with Hogan every week, would that have changed anything, or was there no peak that you could have reached that would have made you feel better?
Changed a lot, man.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. Even the Intercontinental,
Yeah.
just one of those two spots would have changed so much for me.
I've heard Bruce Pritchard talk about you in the past before, and he's said Jake never needed a belt. Jake was over; he didn't need a belt. But you're saying now that even the Intercontinental would have helped you. What's your perspective on that? Why would it have helped you out?
It would have helped my own confidence.
Gotcha.
That's what it would have helped. It would have made me happy with myself, and I wouldn't keep punishing myself the way I did.
Because I know you well enough to know that you don't care about the belt. The belt is actually a pain in the ass to have to carry on the road with you. It's really whenever the company gives you a belt, that's a company saying we believe in you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake, did you envision Dusty rising to the world title picture in the WWF during this time?
No, I
Why
didn't.
do you, why not?
I didn't figure Vince would give him that opportunity.
It does feel strange. You bring a guy like Dusty Rhodes with his legacy, and not only are you positioning him like this, but then it's like he never really rose above mid card ever.
Vince wouldn't let him.
Why even bring him into the company just to try and embarrass him? I guess.
Yep.
Well, apparently there was so much heat among the boys when it came to Dusty Rhodes coming into the company that the WWF actually sent out a memo to everyone in the company, essentially where they told them that they needed to play nice with Dusty when he came in. So I guess all of the guys are getting this. I assume it was the issue was with the guys who had worked with Dusty and JCP previously and maybe got a bad taste in their mouth. Do you
Yeah.
remember people feeling prickly about Dusty coming in?
No, I don't.
No? Well, I guess you wouldn't have been there when he first came.
Remember when he first came in?
I mean, overall, I guess, you're probably a little bit intimidated about your spot, but a good thing for business to have Dusty Rhodes come in.
Oh yeah, he put asses in seats, man.
Yes, he sure did. As far as you'd make your return to in-ring action against Rick Rude on September 18th, and then you're on the house show loop and you're working with Ted and you guys are kind of swapping wins back and forth. How did the live audience respond to your big return after a long absence, Jake?
Oh, it was a pop, brother. They popped. It was great.
You return on the house shows, so it's I wish that they had filmed it. Obviously, your first television appearance, you came out and you did a promo, and that was huge. Like the roof came off the place. I can't imagine your first actual return though, at whatever house show you were at. It must have been amazing.
Oh, it was. It was. It truly was.
Did you feel like the crowd was super excited about you and DiBiase right away, or did you guys kind of have to rebuild this feud since you had been gone for a bit?
They have to rebuild it, man. Ted kept it hot. They wanted to see somebody humiliate him. They wanted to see somebody get to him. And who better to do it than me?
Because again, you did sort of like represent the working man in a lot of ways, so it's cool to see you come after DiBiase. Um, you've been wrestling for 15 years up to this point. This will be your 15th year in wrestling, but now you're returning from major surgery. Coming back, Jake, I know that you were confident, like, I'm coming back out there, nothing's going to stop me. I have to imagine you changed some of what you were doing in the ring, though, following this.
I did. Yeah.
What
Not,
did you alter?
not as much bumping. Because when I took certain bumps, electricity would shoot through my body.
Even after surgery?
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of painful.
Mm.
Which kind of sucked because the DDT was one of the things that hurt.
Was there ever a thought of trying to come up with a new finish?
Nope.
You can't, right?
Nope.
Did you change the way you did the DDT or just fucking right back into it?
Kept doing it, man.
There's a photo out there of Ted giving you a pile driver, and I believe it was taken after this surgery to kind of get over the fact that he was trying to hurt you in your neck. Were you okay to take pile drivers, or was it Ted the exception because you trusted him?
Ted was the exception because I trusted him.
Well, the house shows and television had a destination in mind, and that was the Survivor Series in 1989, 35 years ago, as this podcast is debuting. This is the third installment of the pay-per-view, and it's going to take place in front of 15,000 fans on Thanksgiving at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago. Stone Cold has said that he's got really fond memories of working at the Rosemont because of the sound and the way that the acoustics in the building were, thanks to the wooden ceiling. What can you tell us about the Rosemont?
He's right there, man. The sound was unbelievable, man. It just echoed. It just blow the top off that son bitch every time you went out there.
So when you get a pop, it probably sounds like the building's going to come unglued.
Absolutely.
On this night, there were 5 matches, all of which were 4-on-4 elimination style. Your match takes place third on the card, and the other members of the team, of course, are Hulk Hogan, the world champion, and Demolition, the tag team champions. Jake, you once told a great story about what kind of snake you had for this event. If we're ever going to talk about it again, please, let's relive it right now.
Well, Vince wanted me to carry a bigger snake so all 4 of us could carry the snake to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But my thinking was, you're killing my fucking gimmick, man, if you let these other guys handle the snake. So I can't let that happen. So I had a choice. I had to outthink that son of a bitch or just tell him, no, I wouldn't do it. Well, I can't do that, you know. So I had my snake handler send a snake that was too big for everybody. It was like 27 feet, 28 feet, weighed like 375 pounds.
Holy shit.
You know, his head was like super huge, super huge.
Like Anaconda, the
Yes,
movie.
it was. It was an anaconda.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And he came in a crate or something, if I remember right.
Huge wooden crate, man, that whenever they started prying the top off of it, he hit that son of a bitch and the lid went flying and started coming out. And the snake handler went and put a headlock on it. When he did, the snake picked him up and slammed him against the concrete.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How was the snake handler?
Oh, he was out. He was out, man.
Now the question is, how do you get this big fucking snake back into this crate?
We all had to get a hold of it.
Unbelievable.
And he was shitting everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Just spraying everybody with shit, man. It was horrifying.
What did the Hulkster have to say following meeting this snake?
Oh, fuck that. That was what he said. Fuck that. Oh.
I'll tell you what, that's some chess, not checkers type thinking, Jake. You get a snake so big that nobody wants to touch it.
Nobody wanted a piece of that son of a bitch.
I love it. Now, I didn't get a chance to watch back this match before this episode. Did you come to the ring with a snake, just not that snake?
Yeah, I came back with the regular snake.
There you go. So you still got to get your shit over without anybody else getting a piece of it.
That's right.
That's the way. Billy Edie and Barry Darsow, they're going to play Axe and Smash. They enjoyed a long run, and they started out as heels, but really became baby faces really quick. What do you think it was about Axe and Smash that made the fans like them so much right out of the gate?
Well, they were road warriors in disguise, man. And that's what got them over, man. And they just had to go with it.
Now, did you view it as a Road Warrior ripoff, or it's all fair game?
It's all fair game, bro.
Jake, at the time, did you make the connection that Bill and Barry were dressed up in what I guess you'd call BDSM kink outfits?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was obvious.
Of course, as a kid, I never made that connection. Once you become an adult and watch it back, you're like, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Yeah.
On the other side of the ring, Dibiase is the captain. He's joined by Zeus and the Powers of Pain, and Warlord and Barbarian. Zeus is going to get disqualified for repeatedly choking Hogan, so get his green ass the fuck out of the ring. He's done.
Yeah.
And then Axe and Smash are going to be out next, leaving you and Hogan at a temporary disadvantage. Barbarian and Warlord are then disqualified for dropping Hogan with a spike pile driver, which I didn't realize was illegal, but here we are for some reason. You'll get the hot tag and just whoop Ted Dibiase's ass for a minute before catching a fist drop from Ted and then getting beat with his feet on the ropes. And we all know how this thing's got to end. It's Hogan. He hulks up, gets the win, and the crowd gets what they want in the end. What's strange to me here is that this match is on third. It is right in the middle of the card, and Hogan is the world champion. You're just returning from injury, and the crowd is hot for you. And Demolition, they're the tag team champions. If you had to guess, just a wild shot at it, why do you think you guys weren't main event?
They wanted to put somebody in main event that could do some wrestling, man.
Oh, okay.
Who was main event?
Well, the Warrior was in there, so he was out. However, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard were both involved in the main event, or it's supposed to be. So it's that might be what's at the core of it.
Yep.
And Andre's there.
They can carry the load.
I know you hate tag team matches, Jake. Did you like Survivor Series concept though? Is that any different for you?
Sucked.
So it's even worse because you've got 8 dudes instead of 2
Yeah.
on each side.
Guys, and only about 3 of them know what they're fucking doing.
All right, we are about done. This will be my last one, and I just have to bring this up because it's kind of controversial. So Tully Blanchard was set to be in the main event, but he's going to fail a drug test on the way to the event, and he's going to go on to say that he failed this drug test 2 weeks prior or so in Philadelphia, but they wanted to beat him up on TV ahead of the Survivor Series and then fuck him on like the pay-per-view payoff as he was on his way out the door. Yes. So that's it. He's done not just in the WWF, Jake, but then Jim Hurd in WCW hears about him failing a drug test, and he had a deal on the table for him and Arn, and he said, "Arn, you can still come down. Tully, you're gone. And by the way, Arn, what we told you we were going to pay you, can't pay you that anymore because you lost your tag team partner. So you're going to get half of what we initially offered you."
Wow.
So this whole thing has like huge ripples effects, and Tully Blanchard, that's essentially it for his entire career. He can't go work on any of the major stations anymore. He'll pop up in ECW, I think, maybe work some indie dates, but Tully Blanchard on a big stage in professional wrestling, it's done.
Done.
So Jake, does that sound like something that the Vince McMahon might do to somebody?
Absolutely, man.
Why so vindictive just because a dude's about to leave your company?
Huh?
Why do you think he's so like Tully and Arn did it the right way? They gave their 90-day notice. Why do you think Vince was so vindictive?
Because they were leaving. You don't leave him. You don't let that happen.
Unbelievable. I do have to ask. Tully testified on your behalf in court earlier in the same year, 1989. Were the two of you friends, or how much of a loss was Tully? For the business.
Not a whole lot.
No.
No.
Like you guys weren't friends a whole lot, or the business didn't really suffer as a result of him leaving.
We weren't tight.
Okay. Well, interesting. Second generation wrestler, and essentially his career is snuffed out early. It's a shame. I always liked his work, but that's that for him. And that's that for this episode, Jake. It was really fun getting to look back to November. Gosh, 35 years ago. Hard to believe. And we'll be back next week to do more of it. But always a pleasure chatting with you, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
You too, man. Okay, that'll wrap us up for today. But before we go, I've got to remind you that if you're looking to attract that 25 to 54-year-old male demographic to your product or service, what are you doing? You've got to get over to advertisewithsnake.com. Jake is still with AEW. He's all over the United States. He's meeting fans constantly, shaking hands, talking to people at conventions. People ask him about this show, and people want to know what Jake does and likes to do. And that's why I think it's really important for you to try and be his tag team partner if you're trying to sell a product or service to that demographic. We routinely advertise for the same businesses because they know that what we do here on the Snake Pit works. Again, just go to advertisewithsnake.com and make Jake the Snake Roberts your tag team partner. Get over to Cameo. It's cameo.com/Jake Snake. You'll get a personal message from the Hall of Famer himself. He'll cut a promo on you. He'll give you a birthday wish. He'll do whatever you'd like over there, and it's straight from Jake. I mean, you can't do any better than that. Here's a review from Jack. Jake, you really blew our minds in a good way. Thanks so much for taking the time and making this so candid and so personal. Look, guys, if you're a lifelong fan of Jake, you've got to get this Cameo. This is something you can hold on to for the rest of your life, show your friends, show your family, and just enjoy for years to come. Again, it's cameo.com/Jake Snake. Go and order yours today. You got to check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@SnakePitPod. We've got short clips from the show, highlights, exclusive content, and giveaways. Again, it's youtube.com/@SnakePitPod. Also, if you've enjoyed the podcast, please do Jake and I a big favor. It only takes you a second. like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you use. Jake and I would truly appreciate that. Makes us look really good to advertisers and helps us keep this podcast out there for free for all of you listeners. Catch Jake on X at Jake Snake DDT, on Instagram at Jake the Snake DDT, and on Facebook at Real Jake the Snake. You can follow me and drop your questions at Marcus P. D'Angelo on X. And that's going to do it for this week, guys. Another really fun look back to 1989. What a cool year in professional wrestling. There was so much going on, and it's really awesome to get Jake's perspective on that period of time. Make sure that you tune in to Everybody's Got a Pod and the Hacksaw Hour. The Hacksaw Hour, again, is available exclusively on YouTube, youtube.com/@Golden Era Network, because I'm going to be talking to both of them about